Imagine a college football team so dominant that even if their offense never scored a single point all season, they still would have gone 8-4. A team where the backup running backs became NFL Pro Bowlers. A team that didn't just beat opponent, they humiliated them. The 2001 Miami Hurricanes went 12-0, won a national championship, and put 38 players into the NFL. 17 first-round draft picks, 13 Pro Bowlers, multiple Hall of Famers. 20-plus years later, the debate still rages. Was this the greatest college football team ever assembled? Today, we're breaking down why the 2001 Miami Hurricanes weren't just good. They were historically and possibly unfairly dominant. Chapter 1, The Talent Factory. Let's start with something that sounds impossible. The 2001 Miami Hurricanes had so much talent that future NFL stars couldn't even get on the field. First, let's look at the running backs. Clinton Portis was the starter. He'd go on to make 2 Pro Bowls in the NFL. Behind him, Willis McGahee, a future 1,000-yard rusher in the NFL. Then behind him, Frank Gore, who would become one of the greatest running backs in NFL history with over 16,000 career rushing yards. Oh, and they also had Najee Davenport and Jared Payton, Walter Payton's son, who couldn't even crack the rotation. 5 running backs, 3 future Pro Bowlers, 1 position group. Then at wide receiver, you had Andre Johnson, a future 7-time Pro Bowler and one of the greatest receivers of his generation. At tight end, Jeremy Shockey, who terrorized NFL defenses for a decade, and Kellen Winslow Jr., another dominant NFL tight end. The offensive line produced 4 NFL draft picks. The quarterback, Ken Dorsey, would play in the NFL and become an NFL offensive coordinator. But the defense, that's where it gets absurd. Ed Reed, future Hall of Famer, considered one of the greatest safeties in football history. Sean Taylor, one of the most feared hitters the NFL has ever seen, whose career was tragically cut short. Jonathan Vilma, NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. DJ Williams, Philip Rivers, Mike Rumph, all NFL players. The defensive line was anchored by Vince Wilfork, a mountain of a man who would anchor the Patriots dynasty. William Joseph went in the first round. Jerome McDougal, first round. Joaquin Gonzalez played in the NFL. Let that sink in. 38 players from one college roster made it to the NFL. Not just made rosters, thrived. 17 first-round picks. This wasn't just a good team. This was an NFL all-star team playing against college kids. Chapter 2, The Season of Destruction. The 2001 Miami Hurricanes didn't just win games. They obliterated opponents with a ruthlessness that bordered on insanity. Week 1 of the 2001 season, Miami traveled to Penn State at Beaver Stadium, one of the most hostile environments in college football. Miami went up 30-0 by halftime. It was so dominant that coach Larry Coker pulled his starters to avoid further embarrassment. Final score, 33-7. The 26-point margin was Penn State's worst home loss under legendary coach Joe Paterno. It was followed by even more blowout victories. Rutgers, 61-0. Troy State, 38-7. West Virginia, 45-3. Temple, 38-0. The numbers were video game-like. Miami averaged 42.6 points per game, while allowing just 9.7 points. That's a 32.9 point average margin of victory, the largest in school history. Here's that wild stat. Miami's defense was so dominant that if you removed every single point the offense scored, they still would have gone 8-4 based on defensive and special teams touchdowns alone. The defense didn't just stop opponents, they scored on them. The scary part? Miami had a few close calls. They needed late fourth quarter plays to beat Boston College and Virginia Tech. But even when they were challenged, they found a way. Champions always do. The Florida State game was personal. Miami beat the Seminoles 49-27, dominating their bitter rival. This wasn't just a win, It was a statement that the throne in Florida had changed hands. They rolled through the Big East undefeated. No team came within 2 touchdowns of them after mid-October. By the time the regular season ended, there was no debate. Miami was going to the national championship game. Chapter 3, The Rose Bowl Massacre, January 3rd, 2002. The Rose Bowl in Pasadena, Miami versus Nebraska for the national championship. Nebraska came in as a legitimate contender. They'd won their conference. Their quarterback, Eric Crouch, had just won the Heisman Trophy. They were physical, disciplined, and experienced. It didn't matter. Miami dismantled them. Ken Dorsey threw for 362 yards. The offense moved at will, exploiting every mismatch, every coverage bust, every moment of hesitation from Nebraska's defense. But it was the defense that truly shined. They held Eric Crouch, the Heisman Trophy winner, to -7 rushing yards. Let that sink in. The best player in college football, a running quarterback, finished with negative rushing yards. Ed Reed picked off passes. The defensive line collapsed the pocket. Nebraska's offense looked like they were moving in slow motion compared to Miami's speed. Final score, Miami 37, Nebraska 14, but it wasn't even that close. Miami was up 34-0 in the third quarter before taking their foot off the gas. National champions, undefeated, undisputed. And unlike some championship teams that win close, this team had proven they were in a different class entirely. Chapter 4, The NFL Takeover. The true measure of the 2001 Miami team's greatness didn't fully reveal itself until the next several years, when NFL teams got their hands on this unprecedented talent pool. 2002 NFL Draft, 11 Miami players taken, including 5 in the first round. 2003 NFL Draft, 6 Miami players taken, including 4 in the first round. Willis McGahee, Andre Johnson, Jerome McDougal, and William Joseph. 2004 NFL Draft, 6 more players drafted in the first round, including Sean Taylor and Kellen Winslow Jr. in the top 6 picks. The pipeline continued in 2005 with 5 more guys drafted, including Antrel Roll in the first round and Frank Gore in the third round. 2006, Kelly Jennings, first round. It went on and on. By the time the last player from that roster was drafted, 38 members of the 2001 team had heard their names called on draft day. 17 first-round selections from one college team. That's not just a record. It's a record that may never be broken. 13 of them made Pro Bowls. Ed Reed made 9 Pro Bowls and revolutionized the safety position. Vince Wilfork anchored championship defenses. Clinton Portis rushed for over 9,000 yards. Andre Johnson became one of the most dominant receivers of the 2000s. Ed Reed is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Sean Taylor, had his life not been tragically cut short, was on a Hall of Fame trajectory. Several others are in the conversation. No other college team has come close to this level of NFL success. The 1995 Nebraska team, great, but far fewer NFL stars. The 2019 LSU team, loaded with talent, but the jury's still out on their long-term NFL impact. The 2020 Alabama team, elite, but doesn't match Miami's 17 first-rounders. Chapter 5, The Greatest Ever Debate. So, was the 2001 Miami Hurricanes the greatest college football team ever? Let's look at the contenders. 2019 LSU Tigers went 15-0, had Joe Burrow's Heisman season, beat Clemson in an offensive shootout. Incredible team, historic offense, but LSU's 2019 team had to survive multiple close games, squeaking past Texas, Alabama, and Auburn, whereas the 2001 Hurricanes never looked vulnerable. 2020 Alabama Tigers. This Crimson Tide team set a record that might never be broken, going 11-0 against SEC competition in a pandemic season that included no regular season non-conference games. Nick Saban's last national champion won every game but one by at least 17 points and stomped Ohio State by 28 in the College Football Playoff Championship game. The 2018 Clemson Tiger, led by freshman phenom Trevor Lawrence. The 2004 USC team that had Matt Leinart, Reggie Bush, and seemed unstoppable until Vince Young happened. But here's what separates the 2001 Miami team. Dominance, 32.9 point average margin of victory. NFL success, 38 draft picks, 17 first rounders, 13 Pro Bowlers. Depth, star players sitting behind star players. Perfect season, 12-0 with a dominant championship performance. Even critics who argue for other teams admit that man for man, position for position, the 2001 Miami team had more pure talent than anyone. The argument against them usually centers on era, competition level, or style points, but never on talent. Chapter 6, the Miami Mystique. What made this team special wasn't just talent, it was attitude. The Miami Hurricanes of this era played with a swagger, a chip on their shoulder, a relentless belief that they were better than everyone else. They talked trash, they celebrated big plays, they wore their confidence like armor. Some called it arrogance, they called it knowing who they were. This was the U at its peak. A program that recruited inner city kids from South Florida, gave them a platform, and let them be themselves. They played fast, physical, and with an edge that made opponents uncomfortable before kickoff. But it wasn't just swagger, it was brotherhood. These players pushed each other in practice. When Ed Reed picked off passes against the first-team offense, it made Ken Dorsey better. When the third-string running back was a future Hall of Famer, everyone elevated their game just to stay on the field. And they had just enough discipline under Larry Coker to channel that energy productively. This wasn't chaos, it was controlled fury. So, was the 2001 Miami Hurricanes the greatest college football team ever assembled? The evidence is overwhelming. They went undefeated. They dominated every opponent. They won a national championship by 23 points. And then 38 of them went to the NFL, with 17 becoming first-round picks and 13 making Pro Bowls. Could the 2020 Alabama Crimson Tide team beat them? Maybe in a ground-and-pound defensive battle. Could the 2019 LSU team outscore them? Possibly in a shootout. But man for man, position for position, the 2001 Miami team had more NFL caliber talent than any college team in history. We may never see anything like it again. NFL teams don't let talent concentrate like this anymore. The transfer portal, NIL, and parity have spread elite players across more programs. What Miami did in 2001, stockpiling future Hall of Famers on the same roster, might be impossible to replicate. Greatest ever? The stats say yes. The NFL success says yes. The dominance says yes. And anyone who watched them play, who saw that speed, that violence, that swagger, will tell you they've never seen anything quite like it. What do you think? Was the 2001 Miami Hurricanes the greatest college football team of all time? Or does another team deserve that crown? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into college football history, make sure to subscribe for more stories about the legendary teams, players, moments, and scandals that have impacted the sport.